So, BIP of Bizarre Interest Productions, and I'm gonna try to get this video out early today. To make a long story short, Chapter 26 of Boruto to Blue Vortex got leaked and people went to translate it really fast. Special credit to Felix _EZ. But I'm not gonna post any part of the chapters because of both copyright and out of respect for the author. But let's go through my initial thoughts and analysis. So the chapter starts with the preview we got from Inojin coming over to get Himawari the gift. Feels like if the anime covers this, we're going to get an inner monologue of Inojin thinking about how she saved his life and is going to be grateful for that. We talked about the outrage about the preview already, but to summarize my thoughts, no, him being 15 and her being 13 isn't weird. They've been close friends for about 4 years now, we're only 2 years apart. If it was platonic, then people are just accusing Inojin of something he wasn't even trying to do. And if it's romantic, then not only is it fine, it makes even more sense to get her the gift, especially since regardless of the relationship, they have a bond. Besides, I think I forgot to mention this in the previous video, but Himawari awakened her powers because he got hurt trying to protect her, and she did everything to try and save him. Of course, he would be grateful for that and want to get her a gift, especially if he had feelings for her. Plus, the anime and the novels confirmed that they did have a friendship, and I agree with the criticisms that the Part 1 manga should have at least shown a bit of this. But also remember that Naruto is a multimedia franchise that has a lot of opportunities to tell its story throughout multiple media and should be judged on that merit. And I did see people complaining that this should have not been a preview to hype people up, because of course when some shonen fans see two characters and they're not fighting, that automatically means the chapter is bad and boring and nothing happens, despite this not being the case at all. Now, I'm also not sure if I brought this up, but I believe, or I wanted to say in the last video, I was hoping the upcoming chapters would use this for Inojin to undergo a training arc to get more development and trying to have Ino catch up with everyone else. But after the first page, I was not expecting to see Kashin Koji meet up with Inojin and make him confirm he has feelings for Himawari, then focus on if he wants to protect her. And when he obviously says yes, Koji, with the use of his toad that he's been using to talk to him, reverse summons them back to their hideout, I think? Yeah, their hideout, one of Orochimaru's abandoned layers in the sand. Hey, do you think that's how Orochimaru was able to get easier access to the sand village and assassinate Rasa? Just curious. That being said, it does look like it's a new hideout because Koji says that there's no physical way in and or out of here. And I feel like with Orochimaru's hideout in the sand, there's definitely a possibility that they could find a way to get in unless it's been abandoned or submerged. That is hard for anyone to get through without space-time ninjutsu. If it is a new place or part of Mount Miyaboku, that'd be fine too. But let me know which one do you think it is, the regular hideout or a new one that we haven't seen before, because I could be wrong, and unlike some people who criticize Boruto, especially unfairly, sometimes you're going to be wrong about things, and you could just admit that. But hey, he used reverse summoning jutsu, which, hey, I thought Boruto wasn't about ninjas anymore. Am I right? This fan base is full of idiots. Anyway, Inojin asking if Kashin Koji might ruffle up to the whole anime isn't canon debate. But in episode 211, they ended up trying to find him with Kakashi being the one to confront him. So, while the name would sound familiar, they never actually got a chance to meet him in person. So, I feel like that would still hold merit. I do like the chair that they're both sitting on and sofa, though. Need one of those. Also, between the full chapter getting leaked and the preview, I saw people acting like Boruto was going to fight Inojin for talking to his sister. But it feels like you guys forgot that those two were friends. Yes, I know they started off on the wrong foot in the anime and the Academy arc, but that got over that as what, early episode 4? Yeah, Inojin's a smart aleck, but him and Boruto have helped each other out on multiple occasions. And I know people are going to say, but omnipotence, which is fair, but at least on Boruto's end, he doesn't blame his allies. He was just sad that Himawari didn't see him as her blood brother anymore. If I can even tell that in the chapter that he'll take him back home when they're done, that's a sign that Boruto doesn't hate Inojin. There was no bad blood between them before, so why would Boruto put that type of energy on Inojin when it hasn't been like that for a while between them? At the villains layer, I like the fact that Jura and Mamushi are doing what some people in the fan base refuse to do, and actually pick up a book or manga to read more clearly and in depth. Now, if I was a nitpicking piece of crap, I would say it would make no sense that the guy who was reincarnated from the Ten Tails, who was abused by the vessel holding the Otsutsuki that wanted to use him, that also tended to act above humans with a condescending respect for human society, finding value in life by attempting to research his adversaries and finds what triggers and motivates them, kind of stupid. But thankfully, I'm not that caustic of a critic. I do love the fact that Jura is like, hey, even if this was a book I underestimated, it actually moved my heart and turned out to be good. I love when media encourages people to give things a chance, especially with this fan base. He even agrees, well, emotions kind of come across as gross. They are complex and interesting enough to be studied. Which is true. As annoying as humans can be, we are pretty complex looking at us through an individual basis. Also, not Mamushi reading smut or magazines of models. Though I find it kind of funny that he's based off Bug and he's talking about how information really isn't all that special. And then we get the manosphere line I was waiting for. But Mamushi confirms he wants to eat Eida, and it's not just about preying on her, but he wants to go full red pill and control her, making her his, and taking what makes her special in her genetic information. Fun fact, I was watching a few videos about why people of one political ideology would be interested in another, and someone pointed out that some people would want to date another person with opposing views from them because they are attracted to people who are independent and want a partner who is free so that they could put them in a cage for only them. And morally, I agree you shouldn't see your partner like that. Ideally, every romantic relationship should be a partnership between two people who value each other and lift one another up instead of restricting one another. Some people might ask why I'm bringing this up now. Expect a video on relationships and shonen before March. But when you remember that we're focusing a lot on love regarding the heroes, the villains would naturally want to represent a toxic form of love and compassion. And with Ino not wanting to help Shikamaru, Koji and Boruto use Inojin for the mind-body transmission jutsu to warn Shikamaru he could get resigned as Kage, and we meet the personal attendant directly on the Daimyo, named Lord Kobu, in a meeting with Sai, Konohamaru, and everyone's least favorite Naruto characters, the Elders, who are definitely not a real-life stand-in for real-life conservative folks who had their heyday and oppose everything progressive or helpful for society possible. Hey, remember in Sakura's novel how they wanted to use the money for helping mental health clinics for children suffering in the Fourth Ninja War in order to go for military spending? That's not a joke, by the way. Here's the quote. Homura also believes that Kohona's funding should be spent on military strength, such as the Anbu, and despite being aware of many children's fragile and damaged mental health caused by the Fourth Shinobi World War, Homura sided with Kido Sumuki about redirecting the funds away from Sakura Haruno's clinic. Yeah, why support the new nurturing generation and ensuring they'll have a more peaceful upbringing and mental security after a war, when we can spend more money on the military despite the fact that the war is over? They also talk about the budget cuts, and if you guys read the chapters up to 66 from part 1, did anyone else remember that Naruto and Shikamaru were worried about the budget cuts to the electronic doors if they were to bust or break? Because that was hilarious. And Shikamaru does a good job pointing out that, yeah, with the information that he got, he had to act upon what they could do in order to stop the tree people, which, considering they took down 2 out of the 5 Shinju in one arc, yeah, they did a good job. But Homura realizes the insult came from Boruto, only for Koharu to debate that he might be secretly connected behind the scenes with the Shinju working as a scheme to deceive the people to dismantle the village, despite every time he showed up to help save people. But semantics and the elders are idiots anyway. Konohamaru also points out Boruto saved his life, and they bring up that he killed the Hokage. Now, granted, I wanted Konohamaru or Shikamaru to at least say that, hey, they never found the body, so they never got confirmation he was officially dead. But people have been pronounced as dead in this franchise for far more debatable circumstances. Kobu even points out that they succeeded, but are worried there's a traitor in the village who's in contact with a criminal because it's a matter of national security regarding the line of fire, ordering Sai to take Konohamaru-chan into custody and identify everyone who has direct contact with Boruto in some way or form. So that means between when Mamushi attacks in that week span, we're probably going to have interrogations for Sarada, Sumire, Mitsuki, Ina Shikacho, Himawari, Kawaki, and I think that's it. But they want to find out who was a traitor who assisted his escape, and we'll see where that leads. Also, personally, I don't like that mind transmission is basically forbidden if you're not part of the censor team. But I get it from like a military standpoint, it's not a bad thing. But it makes you wonder, like, if kids in the Yamanaka clan would just be allowed to have psychic communication with their team, or just have the chance to be able to do that with like a friendly conversation with their friends in the village. But I don't think the Lee Village is that dystopian with their rules. Inojin points out they probably broke a lot of rules doing this, but Koji points out they are being hunted, so they have no choice but to do this unofficially. And even Boruto points out that they're dealing with people who don't hold back in their methods, so they're going to have to adapt using their own heads. And surprisingly, Inojin gets it, pointing out based on how strong Jura is, they gotta protect people from a monster like him, including Hima. And to do that, they need determination and strength. one of which you can't deny he has. He did take a tree wound for her. We also get Koji confirming he knows Boruto tried to propose a deal with Momo, Boruto soft confirming it, and both of them getting mad about each other hiding details from each other, especially since Boruto doesn't know how many people were supposed to die, with Koji's defense being that he wanted to guide things through the most certain outcome for Sadara's MS to awaken. And yeah, I'm kind of with Inojin on this one. Awkward. And Koji confirms about 1 week from now, Mamushi will arrive in Konoha to go after Eida, but he knows Mamushi's abilities and the method to defeating him, which all three of them listen on. We transition back to Eida and Daemon with Sarada and Sumire, with the girl who clearly wants love being curious about whether or not Sarada is going to confess, and Eida just flat out calls her boring when she can't decide. Like, I don't agree, but that's so harsh, but it's funny and fits with Eida's character. Also asking Sumire, who might confess suddenly depending on the timing, and Eida brings up the hugging incident as a record. Like, you have to commit a series of crimes in order to be the best possible love interest, which is somehow still thematically fitting when you remember that Boruto is still a criminal. Then Eida casually reminds the audience that she's ultimately true neutral with her own agenda, because she asks, hey, are you two like still under my enchantment? Because remember, her charm can affect almost anyone with a few exceptions, and we don't know the reason why Sarada and Sumire aren't affected yet. Then we get reminders from the dreaded flashbacks that, you know, they can't get caught by Daemon, because if they find out their lives may not be guaranteed, since if they're able to like someone other than her while she's right there in front of them, normally that wouldn't work. Now, naturally, there is a way for them to either argue against this or point out that you can like two people at once, but Sarada activates her MS the moment she sees Daemon about to move, which I don't blame her for, because I don't think gravity is necessarily something that can be reflected, but he's able to speed Blitz fast enough to put the young Uchiha in a chokehold, threatening her, and yeah, that's definitely one way to end the chapter. I had a lot of fun talking about this chapter. It definitely had a lot of unique elements that I enjoy, and yeah, people were jumping the gun way too quickly, but that's nothing new for Naruto and Boruto fans at this rate. So what are my hopes and expectations? Well, I want to see if the ladies are able to talk their way through this, especially since it'll be a great opportunity for Sumire to show off her manipulative side by being able to de-escalate the situation. I am definitely curious to learn more about Mamushi's abilities, but my big hope and expectation is that Inojin is going to train with Boruto and Kashin Koji. They did say that they were going to bring him back, but they never said what it would take for them to be finished with him. And it's not like it wouldn't be a good opportunity. For people who don't really talk about this that often, Boruto and Inojin are two mirrors to one another. Both grew up with two parents in the Konoha 12 that have a high status in their respective fields. Both of them use a combination of their parents' techniques. Both of them have a dry wit to them, and both can be abrasive and caustic for the good people deep down that care about their friends. And both of them are also sword users, especially since we have someone who can use his future sight in order to help them come up with new techniques, or learn techniques that could learn in an alternate possibility. This would be a great opportunity to give Inojin a power up in a short amount of time, or flush out his abilities. Also, for anyone who thinks Inojin didn't work on any mind abilities, or think that it's something he only did in the anime, and what only counts in the written manga is the only canon that counts, he was able to alert his mother to Amato's arrival with a telepathy just outside of the walls of the village in the manga. And yeah, that's going to be it for me. Tell me what you thought about the chapter. Did you like it? Did you not? What are your hopes for chapter 27? Were you surprised? Did the chapter feel like it was going to be bad, but it ended up surprising you in a good way, or did it surprise you in a bad way? Anyway, thanks for watching. Leave a like, comment, and subscribe. And BIP Bizarre Interest Productions, signing off.